Have you ever wondered why some people carry wounds that never fully heal, yet from those very wounds blooms a strength powerful enough to change the course of history? Abraham Lincoln is a living testament to this paradox, a man who failed more than 10 times, stumbled before countless closed doors, endured losses that squeezed the hearts of humanity, and yet stood tall amid the storm to etch his name into the pages of mankind. He did not emerge from the light, but from the deepest darkness, where a person is left with only 2 choices: to fall completely, or to forge their soul into a blazing sword. In his youth, poverty was an inescapable fate. A gray wooden cabin, barren fields, and the endless silence of the wilderness, these were his first teachers. No one showed him the way up. No one taught him how to overcome the mockery of fate. When his father died, when loved ones left one by one, young Lincoln quickly understood that life offers no privileges beyond challenge. It was in that solitude he learned to listen to the faint echo within, the call of the deep self Jung described, urging to face one's shadow. But the darkness was not just poverty. It was failure after failure. Lincoln lost elections in his youth, lost jobs, lost love, and sank into black depression so deep he once contemplated ending his life. Yet from those broken pieces he began to realize a truth. Every failure is a door leading to a new version of oneself, if one has the courage to step through. Where others saw humiliation, he saw opportunity to hone his heart. Where others saw despair, he saw a lesson in patience. There was something about him that made people think of a rock weathered by storms over decades, not to crumble, but to take on the form destiny designed. In every failure, he accepted feeling small, accepted weakness, only to be forged into an unshakable steadiness. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you cannot control the circumstances, control your mind." Lincoln embodied this. He learned to be free inside, even when bound outside. How many times in your life have you felt everything was against you? How many times have your dreams shattered, your faith torn to pieces? If you've ever been there, listen to this journey, for it is written for you. Lincoln was there too, fallen more times than anyone could count. But each time he told himself, just stand up one last time. In the darkness, he discovered a strength not born of money or status, a strength of a resolute soul, ready to pay the price to be true to its dream, a power no one can give or take away. He understood that the path to maturity is not seeking ease, but learning to stand firm in imperfection. And from that imperfection, greatness was born. Years passed. Failure never left his side. Every election was a cut, every rejection a stone thrown at the thin man. But perhaps those stones built the wall inside him, not to shield from the world, but to create a quiet place where he could sit with himself. There, he learned to dialogue with his shadow, fear of being forgotten, shame of origin, simmering rage at injustice. He neither pushed them away nor let them consume him. He sat with them like a meditator in a dark room, listening until their power drained and they became a peaceful part of him. In that journey, something strange happened. The very shadow he had run from became his harshest, most loyal teacher. It taught him how to see deeply into others, that everyone carries wounds and invisible battles. Once he saw clearly his own darkness, he no longer rushed to judge the darkness in others. A quiet light appeared in him, the light of compassion. That was the beginning of true leadership. Not a man on a high pedestal giving orders, but one who knew his own weakness and thus could gently hold the trembling hands of others. Leadership born not of outward force, but from thousands of inner losses endured. And those losses made him ever more tranquil. The outside world was harsh. A divided nation, conflict simmering like underground fire. People wanted strength, decisiveness. Lincoln brought calm, a heavy, slow thoughtfulness. But in that slowness, he saw what others missed, the root of human pain, the fractures in the soul of the nation. One who never understood darkness could never see those cracks. He did what outsiders often don't grasp. The greatest strength lies not in stormy decisions, but in the ability to stand firm in silence as the storm passes. When all is noise, a calm mind becomes a scalpel cutting through truth. Lincoln was that blade. He knew how to let fear and anger subside, to see clearly what must be done. Does that image feel familiar? When you stand in chaos, everything swirling, you long for a moment of stillness to see the path. But that moment never comes on its own. It comes when you stop, face yourself, endure solitude to the end. That is the path Lincoln chose. With every failure, he stepped slowly but surely toward himself. From youthful defeat, he learned endurance. From love lost, he learned to love without possession. From political failure, he learned to rise without bitterness. These lessons were not easy or fast. They were deep cuts sharpening his soul, but life does not stop teaching. One day fate brings a challenge greater than all before. For Lincoln, that was the day he led a broken nation. When destiny's door opened, the man who'd been knocked down many times stepped onto history's stage. No longer just personal failures, now before him was a fractured people, souls torn by hatred, fear, and ambition. War loomed. The world expected an iron-fisted leader. But Lincoln, one who lived with darkness, knew a country can't heal by violence alone. Beneath flags and armies were frightened, lost hearts like his own. That empathy did not weaken him. It forged a different metal. True empathy is not weakness. It is standing in the storm, feeling the pain of both sides, and yet not breaking. It is the strength of one who accepts their own pain. That made him bear the weight of a shattered nation. People think success is winning after winning, but Lincoln's steps teach the opposite, going from failure to failure without losing faith. As Seneca wrote, "A great man is one whom losses cannot diminish." Lincoln was that image, bruised but not curled, wounded but not barren. In every step, he carried a stillness that silenced the loudest voices. His career was a relentless battle between ideal and reality. In his eyes, ideal was a light, reality was mud. He learned to walk in mud without letting it stain his soul. He understood that to lift a nation, he must walk with them through their darkest lands, not stand outside pointing fingers. This lesson, most modern worlds forget. Only by touching another's darkness can you offer a bit of light. Long nights, when the nation slept, he stayed awake with red-rimmed eyes, hearing the unshed cries of millions. That solitude was not meaningless burden. It was the ritual of true leadership. In that silence, he transformed from ordinary man to icon of steadfastness. Suffering matured him. Time made him a tree standing firm in the storm. Pause for a moment. Do you see the reflection of your own life? There will come a day when challenges pile like stones too heavy to bear, and you'll stand at a crossroads. You can run or stand tall like Lincoln did. This choice is not of muscle, but of a heart that has learned to accept all and keep walking. When Civil War broke, Lincoln fought not just armies but his own demons, doubt, fear, dark memories. But from that darkness he emerged with a will tougher than any weapon. He knew his greatest enemy was inside. When he won that inner war, no outside force could defeat him. Amid cannon fire and bloodied fields, Lincoln spoke calmly, not coldly, but from a soul weathered by storms. That calmness changed millions' hearts. Those harsh days touched the essence of a man. Walking among makeshift graves, nameless soldiers' tombstones, his eyes, though tearless, held oceans. He knew power could not save lost souls. Speeches could not silence mothers' cries. All he could do was make his heart a mirror reflecting. That pain without missing a drop dot from that reflection came a miracle. Compassion turned to will. Deep inside, he fought not just to win a war, but to uproot the invisible shadow that bound generations, division, and hatred. He knew he'd die one day, but if he left a seed of unity, he'd accept all loss. And that seed was nourished not with enemy blood, but with patience of a soul enduring to the end. You could say two pulses beat in him. One was the storm, fierce, relentless, breaking what no longer fit. The other was a stream, quiet, gentle, flowing through cracks until merging with the ocean. This duality made Lincoln unique, a president both sharp as sword and soft as water. That's why his words were never just politics. They touched the deepest places, the abandoned child shivering, the exhausted man clutching hope. He spoke not with power, but with scars on his soul. Those scars made a nation. Listen, Doc, do you feel the weight of this? What he built didn't come from outside. It came from an inner journey few dare to walk. To have that steady confidence, he accepted his own breakdowns dozens of times. Each failure wasn't a meaningless loss, but a layer shed, revealing the true self. In Jungian terms, that is individuation stepping out of old shadows to stand in one's freedom. Deeper into war, Lincoln revealed a quality that silenced enemies: absence of hatred. He saw opponents not as monsters but as lost souls in darkness. Because he saw them so, his words could draw them near, even if just a small step. Here lies the truth. Changing the world needs a heart unpoisoned dot in final years. As darkness closed in, he grew quieter. People thought he was spent, but that was ripening. In that silence came clarity, letting go of need for praise or victory. Only one thing remained: to do what is right, whatever the cost. That steadfastness carried him through storms and left a silent lesson. History is written not by those never fallen, but by those who've fallen so many times, there's nothing left to lose but their dignity. And then one day, as smoke cleared, but echoes lingered, he stood among the people with a speech we now call Gettysburg. Few hundred words, each carved from his pain, decades of failure, loss, and friendship with darkness. In that crowd's silence was something invisible. A nation led not by ambition, but by the awakening of a soul. At that moment, Abraham Lincoln was more than a man. He became a mirror for our own journey from darkness to light, doubt to faith. His image reminds us all that whatever we endure, no matter how cruel, can become the material to rebuild a stronger, more compassionate self. But fate is ruthless. As war ended and a new future dawned, a fatal bullet found him. His body fell, but what people remember a century later is not death, but the life he left. He died a warrior, knowing nothing lit inside can be killed. And strangely, that death didn't close the story, but opened a new chapter. Lincoln gave the world a weapon no one can take away: the example of a man who was once broken, humiliated, beaten down, but never gave up. He proved you don't need to be born in glory to be a light. You only need to patiently walk through your darkness, and one day, that darkness will shine. Look deeper, and you'll see his life as an invitation. An invitation for anyone wavering between failure and hope. Dare to stand, even once more. Fear not your scars, they carve your true face. Fear not setbacks, they may be the only way to find depth within. If you pay attention, all the greatest share one secret: they loved their darkness before finding light. Lincoln too. Darkness did not make him miserable. It forged him into a self even time cannot erase. Remember, failure is not the end. Mockery, loss, pain are layers of earth covering the seed. One day, when you stop running from yourself, that seed will sprout. rising as proof that all that tried to bury you nourished your strength. This is Abraham Lincoln's spiritual legacy. Every soul can be reborn. Even when the world outside shuts all doors, one inside remains open, the door of courage. Whoever passes through it will no longer be bound by others' gaze, praise, or scorn. Only pure freedom remains. And then, when a soul finds that freedom, nothing can hurt them anymore. That moment is a soul standing firm, as Lincoln stood, needing no other proof. The woman who knows her worth does not chase, she chooses.